There we go. Good evening, Jack. Nice to see you. If we can get this. How's everyone doing tonight? Hope you're having a good evening, night. Oh, it's quite dark. Tim, nice to see you as well. How's was it MMA training you did, or what was it that you were doing? I forgot. Hi, Catherine. I had a very nice weekend, thank you. Better than Thursday. Thursday was rough. But yeah, had a good weekend. Hope you did as well. It's been, in Sweden we have kind of our summer is July, and then it's really nice weather on and off, but then usually it doesn't actually come until August. And now it's 1st of September and it's incredible weather here. It's just amazing. Swedish late summer is like the best summer in the world. It's just so comfortable and pleasant and beautiful and nice and calm and quiet. I really enjoy it. Hey Christian, nice to see you as well. I'm not sure if I recognize. Christian, have you been here before? Am I just forgetting your name? I can't remember. Let's see, Jack. Gotta run through the Dhammapada, yeah, last weekend. Always wondering, do monks are supposed to memorize it in Pali? No. You see, it kind of depends on where you're at. If you look in Sri Lanka, most of the monks are actually like temple monks. If they wear the orange robes in Sri Lanka, usually that means that they're in a city temple. So then they don't meditate very much. They're more scholars or like a normal priest. They just study the teachings of the Buddha and they live after the precept kind of, but they don't do much meditation. So I'm not sure the Dhammapada would be something that they would study. I mean, if they go to Buddhist university, which most monks do, then they would absolutely study it because it's a vital text. But it's more for, yeah, I'm not sure they would study that one particularly. And no, you don't need to memorize it in Pali. Like a lot of monks know some Pali, but it's kind of like, yeah, it depends. Unfortunately, it's become this thing where knowledge is valued very highly because we put the Buddha up on a throne, and then obviously we can never be better than him and we can never learn more than him, and everything we get is from him. So then they believe they need to have his knowledge as an information knowledge. And I quite often ran into, just recently I spoke to someone from Sri Lanka, and it was interesting how they like, yeah, this is the way it is, the Dhammapada, and not Dhammapada, they spoke about something else. And yeah, there can be a lot of belief in the text without actually having practiced the text, which is the disadvantage of doing that. Let's see, Tim is saying, I was ill. Then I went on vacation and now I have a new girlfriend. What that? Not so much MMA lately. Well, that's nice. Trying to get into it again at the moment. Well, good for you, Tim. Happy to hear that. Did you meet your girlfriend on the vacation, or like did she come with you, or what? That sounds nice. JVB, nice to see you as well. Christian, I've been here before, but only a few times. Okay, I'm sorry if I didn't recognize your name. Jack, what's the chantry take on Suttanipata and those verses acknowledged as canon? You're asking the completely wrong person. I just told you I don't care about textures. I think they're highly overrated, and it lets people feel they know something just because they know a text, and they know absolutely nothing just because they know a text. Well, they just know the information in the text, but that's kind of not the point of the text. So yeah, I don't spend much time on that. Stephen, nice to see you as well. Andreas, hey Andreas. Wow, there's a lot of people here today. Tim, met her at a festival. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, then you probably like the same music or the same interest there. I had a lot of thoughts before, actually. What was I thinking about? Vacation. Yeah, since Tim was on vacation, we spoke about this last time, how I actually had a very nice conversation with one of my coaching clients, and we were saying that there's a big misconception about the self, and I'll just cover this briefly before we start. So people think that the self is a concept, but it's not really a concept. Even though it is a concept, that's not the problem. The problem is that the sense is an actual, sorry, the self is an actual sensation of self. You can feel that you are here. That is the problem. And then from that feeling, you make up a concept of I am here and I am separate in relationship to this. I am black, I am white. And like you get all these ideas from this sensation of I am here. But the self, the problem is not that it's a concept, because that's just a thought. The problem is how that concept feels. But again, I don't want to use the word concept because it's not really important. So the sense of self is the problem. And you'll feel this when it lessens how nice it is to be alive, how much easier it is to be alive. And for Tim Esperanza, when he was traveling on vacation, I'm curious, did you feel that when you're away somewhere, away from, so imagine you have a sense of self, it starts pushing against things. So this is my office, I push it, I have a feeling here, I actually feel very comfortable and safe here and calm. But if it would have been a work office that I didn't like, that I have a special feeling towards that, that created pressure towards this apparent center point, which is the sense of self. And I would walk out the door and I would see the surroundings and I would have pressure, tension, friction, distortion towards that. And I'd walk into my house and I had tension towards and distortion towards that. My family, my children, my colleagues, everything. We create all this distortion, pressure or tension that the more you push against, again, not with concepts, but the actual feeling of having a feeling of what this is. The more you do that, the more self you create. Then, when you go away to somewhere else, somewhere new, all of a sudden, you don't have all these things pushing on you. So now you're in a new place, and then you go, wow, it's so amazing here. Can you feel the air? It's so fresh, and oh, look at the sounds. Oh, the sounds of those cars driving in the background is so beautiful. Wonderful. And can you smell that smell? Yeah, the smell of, oh yeah, I can feel, it's cow dung. Isn't that amazing? We're out in the countryside. I can smell the cows. That's incredible. And you walk around and you feel the grass, and it's something new that you don't have a lot of distortions, a lot of pressure, a lot of relationships to. It's a new space. So the sense of self is lessened. And then when you're at that place, you feel lighter. It's easier to breathe. You feel happier. There's not all this, I'm not going to say baggage because then people think of thoughts, but all this weight that you kind of closes you up like this. Instead, it's more open. And when you're in places like that, it's easier to open up and fall in love. There's actually a term for something called vipassana love, which is a phenomenon that happens when people go to meditation retreats. Because at meditation retreats, you first of all, you're in a completely new space. You don't know anything, unless you've been there before. But you don't recognize that it's a new space compared to your daily surroundings. And then you sit and you focus and you let go of like all these distortions and you calm down. And all of a sudden the world around you becomes beautiful. And then when you're sitting there meditating, then you open your eyes like, whoa, look at her. Oh my goodness. Whew. Or him, obviously. And then you spend the whole 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, however long you are, they're just running a fantasy about that person, how amazing they are, and you feel like you're having conversations with them, and then the retreat ends and you talk to them and maybe they're not at all the way you thought they were, or maybe they were looking at you, maybe nothing happened. It's like, it's a phenomenon. When you drop away this pressure towards yourself, you just become very open, you become very loving, very easy, very kind. It's just easy to be alive. See, as Tim is saying. Yeah, I felt a lot more present, exactly, and free. My vacation was at Ozra Festival, though, which supports spiritual growth a lot. Not sure if you're familiar with the festival. It's a psytrance festival with a lot of art and beautiful stuff to explore. That sounds nice. Ozra, where is it? Is it in the Netherlands? Or I've heard this name before, I think. Jack is saying, it'll always a pleasure to be here, Martin. Thank you for your time. Thank you too, Jack. I'm happy to hear that. Hungary. Okay. I've heard this. Yeah. Anyways, traveling is one of the times when you feel this loss of strong centeredness, of sense of me, because you're having new things to distort to. But if you would stay there for half a year, I promise you it would feel different. if you would stay there for just 3, 4, 5 weeks, it would feel different after a while, and you start distorting towards things. We're actually going to start, but one thing that I wanted to mention also, when you stop viewing the sense of self as a concept, but as an actual feeling, you feel you're here, you kind of need to experience what it's like when that feeling of self lessens, because then it's like, oh, this is a problem. Because most of us don't see that. You can see it in people. I see it in people walking all the time. They kind of like pulled forward by this, and they're just walking so quickly, and they're really, you can feel this strong pulling. But when you let go of that, it's like, I'm just going to take my time and walk and be calm and slow. So you can feel how life is different without it. But that's not what I was getting at. What I wanted to say, that if you think about the sense of self as this illusionary thing here, imaginary, illusionary, that pushes and has distortions or pressure. It's pushing against some things, it's pulling against some things. And since it's pushing and pulling, all of a sudden this becomes stronger. If it's just like nothing here, then you don't feel like there's anything here, because it's just blank space. But now we're creating pushing, and then all of a sudden I am here pushing out there. I'm here pulling in here, and then all of a sudden this is created. And I'm not talking about this as in a philosophical thing. I'm talking about this as how it actually feels when you're doing this. So when you go out into nature, most people, I'm not going to say all people, because there's some people who hate nature. They just think about all the bugs and birds and animals, and they think there's wolves and lions everywhere. But for most people, when they go into nature, they also feel a lot like when you're on vacation, like Tim was describing, this sense of peacefulness and presence. Because in nature, it just seems that maybe we just more naturally programmed towards nature, like genetically somehow, to have less distortions, because we kind of know what's safe. We don't feel like in this rooms, there is 1,000 things for me to distort towards. There's colors, there's textures, there's lights, there's these figs, and there's a lamp, and there's electricity, and there's like carpet and metal and microphones and concepts and ideas of, I know what this computer can do, and I can see the screen, and now we can show things, and all the things I've seen on the screen. All of that creates so much for me to create tension, distortion towards, compared to in nature, where it's just nature, and there's something peaceful about that. So I think one of the reasons that we feel so much peacefulness in nature is because we just naturally don't distort in the same way. And it just, yeah, it is very interesting if you compare a space in nature to a space in a room like this. So think about this and keep that with you, because it's like I said, I had such a good conversation with one of my students, and I thought I wanted to share that here as well. So today is Monday, which is guided meditation. And for those of you new, we start with the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, which is we say out aloud 5 things we can see, 4 things we can touch and feel, 3 things that we can hear, 2 things that we can smell, and finally 1 thing that we can taste. And the whole idea when we're doing this exercise is to come back to our senses, to become immersed, submerged, maybe even into our senses, to see and really see. And we want you to be aware of what you're experiencing, because what you'll notice is that most people, when you start becoming aware of these things, we go around constantly having a daydream in our head, a fantasy, a dialogue that's running, which is making it so that you don't really see reality around you. And we're trying to break that and actually see reality around you, like when you're on vacation or when you're in the forest, because if you haven't figured it out, you don't need to go on a vacation to feel as if though you have that sense of liberty and freedom and peacefulness. It's just that you need to learn how to live in the world in the same way. So when we say things out loud, just to stop, it's not that you need to do them as quickly as possible. I want you to really look at the things you say out loud that you're seeing. Really feel, what does it feel out when you're feeling something, and listen, and maybe not take the first sound that you hear, but actually spend some time and really listen and search for a sound. After we've done that exercise, we'll sit for 20 minutes, and then if there's any questions, you're happy to, you're happy, maybe you are, I don't know. You're welcome to ask any questions if you have them. So, I see a blinking lamp. I see a lizard that my father painted. I see a tree. I see a USB connector. And I see a thermos. Now we say 4 things that we can touch. I can touch my nose. I can feel this woolen sofa. I can touch this print. And I can touch the keyboard in front of me. And now we're looking for 3 things that we can hear. Now we need to calm down a little bit more because these senses require a bit more concentration. So look for 3 sounds that you can hear. Try to search a little bit, maybe not take the first one that comes to mind. I hear the sound of a passing car. I hear my own breath. I can hear vibrations on the stand for my laptop as the fan spins. Now we take 2 things that we can smell. I smell vanilla. I smell sweat. And then finally, one thing we can taste. Almost cheating, but I can taste rooibos tea. So for this meditation, we'll be focusing on our breath, and we're not trying to control the breath. Instead, we're trying to observe the breath. Just trying to let breath happen and see what the breath does and observe it and see that you're separate from the breath, to see that distance in between. I want you to start by asking yourself for permission to, for the next 20 minutes, not solve all the big problems you have in your life. For the next 20 minutes, not worry about what's going to happen tomorrow or what that person thought about you when they said that thing to you yesterday, the day before yesterday, or 5 years ago. In other words, see if you can let your life, everything that you find important, just be for a little while. And instead come to something that's maybe even more important, which is your breath. And let all those things rest for the next 20 minutes. As soon as we're done, I promise you, you can go back to worrying, wondering, analyzing, solving, trying to figure out, blaming. Whatever it is you want to do, you can do all of that. But for the next 20 minutes, ask yourself for permission, if it's okay, to just do this one simple thing of observing your breath. Now, I also don't want you to focus on a tiny point where your breath is happening. Instead, we're trying to expand our awareness so that you feel your whole upper body, and it's more a sense of awareness of breath happening. You might even feel your whole body almost as a field and feel that there is breath happening within that field. It's recommended that you breathe through your nose and just observe. Just observe where your breath does when you breathe in and breathe out, and breathe in and breathe out. It is very easy to get carried away with your thoughts, even when you've told yourself it's okay to just be here and just observe your breath. And to make it just a little bit easier to follow your breath, we'll be doing an exercise where we count our breaths from 1 to 8 and then down again from 8 to 1. And I will do this with you one time to begin, and then you can continue yourself. After that, I'll come back and give you some pointers throughout the meditation. So breathing in and out. 1. Breathing in and out. 2. Breathe in and out. 3. Breathing in and out. 4. Breathe in and out. 5. Breathing in and out. 6. In and out. 7. In and out. 8. Breathing in and out. 7. Breathing in and out. 6. Breathing in and out. 5. Breathing in and out. breathing in and out. 3, breathing in and out. 2, breathing in and out. 1. Now continue counting your breath by yourself from 1 to 8, and then down again from 8 to 1 as you breathe in and out. 1, breathing in and out. As you're observing your breath, see if you can find a sense of origin for your awareness, a sense of where is the person doing the breathing, where is the person who's observing the breath. I usually think of where is awareness coming from to see if I can find a perspective. For many people it helps to ask, who is observing the breath? If you feel a sense of uncomfortableness as you're sitting here observing the breath, maybe you still have some worry of that thing that happened before, or the thing that will happen tomorrow, then turn your observation inwards and ask, who is worrying? Who is afraid? Who has a problem sitting here because they believe they need to do something else that is more important? See if you can find the sense of self that is distorting, pushing towards all of these things that seem so important. And as an anchor, you can use your breath to not get caught up in your thoughts or drift away in your distortions. But instead, keep your awareness on your breath at the same time as you're looking for who or where the sense of self is originating as you're breathing in and out. 1. Breathing in and out. Another exercise that you can do if you want to. It's also perfectly fine if you want to keep on just observing your breath. But if you want to try another angle for feeling this sense of self, you can take your right knee. Just feel your right knee. If you can feel any sensations on your right knee. If that's difficult, you can take your right hand, whichever you feel the most sensations in. Just take the hand instead. Feel your right hand. Feel what you can feel in your right hand. Is there some tingling? Is there heat? Moisture? Maybe pulsing? And as you're observing your right hand, I want you to ask yourself, where is that observation coming from? Who is observing your hand? where is that person or that feeling of that person located? You can choose to let go of the breath and just observe. You can simply observe just the breath and don't do the exercise, or what I many times do is that I do both at the same time. I'll observe as I'm keeping my awareness on my breath to make sure that I don't drift away into my thoughts. As I'm gently and calmly breathing in and out. 1. Breathing in and out. As usual, if you want to, you're free to keep on sitting or just listen to the conversation while you take a cup of tea if you want to, or ask questions or thoughts if you have any. Thank you, Stephen. I enjoyed it as well. It was very nice. It's fun experimenting for me because, as I said before, I'm always a bit uncertain how much I can bring into these since we don't work every week continuously in person. But I find that it seems to work with we're a group of people who keep coming back. So then it's fun to introduce some a little bit more advanced topics, maybe not advanced, but more difficult topics to deal with than just observing the breath. How was your weekend? Anything good? Yes, lots of good stuff. I had a nice weekend. I'm trying to think of anything. I had a really nice time with my family, and not because we did really nice things, but because there was very little of me there, meaning the sense of me. And when there's little of you there, there's no stress, there's no hurry, there's no rush. And when you're with children, they love that, being able to just be with a child and just look at them while they're doing their things or explaining in detail how this little toy is very important. You put it this way. And my son, he doesn't really talk. He mixes words up, and he has different words for different things. Say like Papa, jobba, working is like ooh, nanna, and then see he'll tell this whole story just by making sounds. It's just adorable. So yeah, I really enjoyed myself this weekend. It was a nice weekend. I see, Stephen. I was wondering, if someone is doing something bad, do you let things play out or do you interfere and stop them? Well, that's an interesting question. Do you mean you walk by and see something happen, or what do you mean? Elaborate a little bit. While Stephen writes, I'll say my thoughts on that, because the answer is going to be the same, because I think I know what he's trying to say. I don't give recommendations to people of what to do or what not to do. That would be this is my desire of how I want life to be, if this is reality. So my desire and my reality. Personal development usually deals with trying to get your reality to be better, which is a really good thing to do. Spirituality usually deals with having better desires for your reality, how you want your reality to be. Now, I don't do those things. I do this thing here in between, this pressure, the distortion, which creates the sense of self. So, let's see, Stephen continued. If someone is committing a crime or saying rude things or anything bad, so that depends. But my view on it is basically this, how I approach it. Let's say you're at school and someone's saying something rude to someone else. If you go in and you can feel the distortion, you feel the anger, you're coming in, like, oh, I feel so angry. No, it's maybe easier actually. Oh yeah, let's do that one. You feel the anger and you feel like, oh, I can't believe they're doing this. You get so upset and you go up and you work up the courage, and then you're like, hey, you don't say that to people, like that's not rude. And you start coming with your sense of self and you're pushing towards them. There will be a lot of you in there, a lot of pushing towards another person who feels that they are them. And then there can be a lot of pushing in between those two people, because you come up with a sense of like this. And there can be a lot of strength in that, a lot of people believe or feel. But if you compare that to someone coming up to the same situation but feeling calm and just peaceful and not doing what they're doing, and saying, hey, what's going on here? And then trying to approach it from that angle, meaning that you don't carry the anger with you, but you're actually calm, then usually that helps situations resolve themselves better. So I'm not saying what you should do in this situation, because that depends on you and who you are as a person. If I would see someone hitting a child, I would think before I said anything, because if it was a parent hitting their child and I told them off, like, hey, you're not supposed to do that, then it could be that that child gets beaten even more when they get home. But I might try to take a note of who they were and talk to the store if they come back, and say that that person was hitting the child. Maybe you should contact social welfare. Do you know who they are? But I might not do it so obviously in their face, to create even more anger. But I mean, the thing here is, I don't know. I don't know if you should stop them or not. If you're coming in to stop a fight, maybe they have a knife or a gun. Maybe they're just playing with each other and think you're an idiot for coming and ruining it. It's very difficult to say what the right thing to do is. But something that's always the right thing to do is look how you're distorting towards it and trying to let go of that. And then once you let go of that anger, that feeling of whatever it is you're having, and then you try to solve the situation from that way. Everything is much easier when there's less of you there. Jack, there is a Buddhist monastery near me in Kordong Ningmapa school, but I don't know how taking like 10 years off seems a bit much. What do you think? 10 years is a lot of time. Why do you need to take 10 years off? That sounds excessive. I know that when people do in Plum Village is one of the centers I went to where it was tradition that you came and you stayed for a shorter period of time. I think they did 5 years. So you committed to 5 years as a samaner, a novice monk, and then you would live there for 5 years, and then after that you could continue, or you could go back to your lay life. And a lot of people go back to their lay lives. Lay life means life not as a monk. That was mostly Western people who came there, and mostly younger, I would say. Yeah, mostly younger people, but also a little bit older like me as well. So yeah, I think 10 years seems excessive. I mean, just start with a year. Why do 10 years? There's many other places you can go to. Christian, thank you for this session. Any tips on becoming more conscious of distortions? Yes. What we do when I work with people one-on-one, we first start to work with understanding what distortion is, because it seems like, oh yeah, I understand the concept, I get it, but actually feeling the different nuances, and not just that, but understanding that this is a problem. Because for a lot of people, they don't understand it's a problem. A lot of people feel motivated. They feel like, oh, I like the anger, like when I'm gonna pump myself up, and like that's a lot of distortion. And you might want to have that because you're gonna do something really difficult or whatever it is, or overcome some kind of fear. So for most people, they don't even see that it's a problem. It's mostly when that becomes an issue in a depression, some kind of anxiety, something serious happens, someone passes away, you get ill, and might have like a diagnosis that is really difficult. Then all of a sudden you start feeling this, and this opens up, and like, oh shit, this hurts. I don't like this. Is not a nice feeling. And then you can't stop it, because you can see it, but you don't know what to do with it. So the first part is understanding what it is, and then learning to see how to observe it. The second part would be to actually work with something that you have in your daily life that you have a lot of distortion towards. So for you, Christian, if you had something that you find really difficult, let's say you find you have anxiety with speaking on the phone. And then what we would do, we would take the telephone and we would sit and meditate next to the telephone, make sure we're calm, and then just open our eyes and look at the telephone, and you would see, can I feel some kind of distortion here? Like, and then you very likely feel any like this. Oh, okay, that is the actual distortion happening here. But what's going to happen is you're going to kind of drift away from your senses into this distortion, become one with it, kind of. It sounds silly now, but really you become one. Like when we say you're so angry, you see red, you're just completely absorbed by the anger. And then ultimately the final part to do, which is my tip for how to become more aware of it, is to throughout the day ask yourself, how am I doing now? how am I feeling? What's going on inside of me? And doing this continuously throughout the day to check in and see, am I feeling any discomfort? Because ultimately, people spend so much time talking about these big things and what would you do if there's a train track and there's like one track here, it kills 8 people and you can divert it, but then it kills 1 person. Like, would you do? And all these philosophical theories and conundrums, instead of kind of just dealing with, are you okay just sitting in your room? Do you feel you need to move from when you're sitting now? Why? Why is there a discomfort in you making you want to move? Why is there discomfort in you making you want to not talk about your problems with your partner or with your children, spending time with them? And then when you look at that throughout the day, you'll gradually become aware that this is a problem. You start seeing it and you'll see like, hey, wait a minute, this is kind of a silly thing to do. Why am I not okay sitting here? I am perfectly comfortable. There's no reason for me to move, but yet I feel this thing pulling me. So constantly asking yourself, how am I feeling right now? How am I doing right now? And then throughout the day, checking in with yourself, and you'll become gradually more aware of it. That's, the tip I would give. There's so much more to it, but that's a good exercise to start with. Let's see, Jack Crasher formation. Stephen, is that state of wanting to help people also distortion? Absolutely. Absolutely, it is. And this is why the problem is, there's a lot of people who say that there's no right and wrong in the grand, we're all one, so there you can't do anything wrong, there's nothing good or bad. Like, when you take away distortion, there is no sense of right and wrong, as in, oh, that is right. Sorry, that is wrong. Oh, that is so right. It's more that things just seem kind of obvious, that why would you commit a violent crime makes no sense, because there's this feeling of peace. There's no, if someone commits a violent crime and actually hurts someone else, like say you go up and you stab someone with a knife, you would never do that if you had no sense of strong, like, I am here. Because the reason you do a violent act like that is because I've been hurt. This person said something to me, they did something to me, or they look a certain way, or their their race, or their country, like, you make something up. That's why I'm so angry that I can go over there and physically hurt you. But when you have no sense of self, those ideas and concepts just don't make any sense. Like, it just does. It would be very difficult to have no sense of self and be in a war. It's not that you couldn't, if you really believe that was something that was important to do, but it would be it just wouldn't make any sense. Sorry, I forgot the question. I said, yes, is that state of wanting to help people also distort? Yes. So I'm getting to that. My point is that it's not about what you do, it's a sense of discomfort. And I've seen a lot of people who go, especially with Mahayana Buddhism, which is all about, we help the world and we make the world a better place. And then in 100,000 lifetimes from now, the whole world will become enlightened at the same time. What they often do, many people, I'm not saying all of them do, but many people have that. They have this want to help other people, which is a really nice thing to do. But when they see violence, when they see someone doing something that's not right, when they see someone suffering, they suffer, they feel bad. And that's distortion. So, I mean, you're just creating more sense of me. And the thing is, again, if we take this example, say that you have you're working with people who suffer, so you're a psychologist. If you would start reacting towards everything they said and really feel emotional, oh my goodness, like, and you would connect with them like that and feel like the pushing and pulling that they're feeling, you would burn yourself out like so fast. Whereas if you could be peaceful and calm and stable, I always said that people came to me when I was ordained, I still do today, but not to the degree they did then. And they told me all kinds of difficult things they had gone through. And I never focused on helping them. I never focused on making their lives better or trying to solve their issues, their problems. All I did was to look at how I'm distorting towards what they're saying. If they're saying something, do I want to come in and say, oh, I need to say this thing to help them? Just cut all of that and just observe, how are you reacting towards what they're saying? And the amazing thing is that everyone, when you can really be calm and stable and not judge, because that's basically what's happening. You're not giving like, "Ooh, I can't believe you said that. Did he just?" No, 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 that's terrible. They can feel and see your reactions, but if you're just there, stable, just observing yourself, letting go of all the distortions, I don't know of any better therapy to do than doing that. And I know it myself when I talk to someone who is like that. It's like, oh, it's so relaxing, because you take on, you feel it's again, okay, the sense of self is created by you pushing and pulling towards things. If I go and talk to you and I have this difficult thing happening and I push against you and you're like, yes, 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 that's terrible, you pushing back, okay, there's pressure here. But if I go to you and I tell you all my problems and I push and oh, there was nothing there, and I oh, this is terrible, it's nothing there, and eventually they'll get tired of pushing because there's nothing coming back. So it's not about being a good person, and if you're a good enough person, you get rewarded. I think that's a misconception that a lot of people get. They're kind of feeling like, okay, I do enough good deeds, then I will be rewarded. It's not that I'm talking about, even though that's a really nice thing to do. I highly recommend you to help other people. I highly recommend you to do good in the world. But make sure that you do it because you want to do it, not because you feel bad, and you do it because you feel guilty and you need to do it. Two very different things. It's as in imagine you met someone, take Tim. I mean, I'm sure this didn't happen to Tim now, but the girl Tim met, she's with him because she felt so bad for him. She's like, oh my goodness, look at this man. He's good looking and he's intelligent, but like, oh, he doesn't have a girlfriend. I feel sorry for him. I'm going to be his girlfriend just to help him. I mean, you wouldn't really want that, I'm assuming. I don't know about Tim. Maybe Tim's a little bit special in that way. But most people would not want that. You would want someone who just helps them because it's what you want to do. It's the right thing to do. So don't try to force goodness coming out of you. Instead, if you take away this sense of needing to be important, needing to be good or bad or whatever, and just do what feels right, and then you'll see that very likely you'll be a good person, because that's kind of what's in there. Let's see, Andreas, have you organized meditation retreats? Yes, quite a few, but not in a long time. I did quite a few when I was a monk and the years after I disrobed, but lately I haven't done it. You're in Sweden, so I might do one day. I have been asked about from some local yoga schools here in the area if I wanted to hold guided meditations, but I just don't have enough time. Time is very limited as a father of two and a partner and house and job and my YouTube channel. In fact, for me, I want to make so many more videos, but I don't have the time. But I really, really enjoy these sitting sessions. So I focus on them and just kind of, it doesn't matter if my channel doesn't grow. I enjoy this, so I do this because I think it's fun. And I like it. And I feel like the people who are here get help. It doesn't really matter that much if it's 10 people or 1,000 people. I mean, yeah. Let's see, Jack. They are deep in Tibetan way of Buddhism where you can came too young and stay for life. That's why 10 years of information from non-Buddhist background. Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't, well, Jack, that's up to you. I mean, I personally don't see any point in doing that. 10 years is such a long time that you can start out with a strong will. Okay, I'm going to go into this. I'm going to get going. And that motivation is going to last for weeks, months. I mean, if you can make it last a year, that's incredible. But after a year, you'll be like, okay, if you don't like it, you're not going to stay anyway. There's not much point. I would much rather look for a place where you feel comfortable, where you feel, okay, they resonate with what I want to do. Because what you'll notice when you travel around to as many meditation centers I've been to is that they're vastly different. They're so different. And the how should you say, the climate, the atmosphere, or the, what do you call that, the way the group, because there's always a group, there's some people running it, there's people coming in and out, the feeling of that place will be different. Some places are really hard. They really like the strictness. They focus on the teachings of the Buddha or this particular form of meditation, and they're very strict with that. Other places, just really lax and do whatever kind of. And some are more like ashrams, where it's just we just live together and we just try to function together. I would look for something that you find I could live here because I like it here. If you're gonna commit to long term, I would do that. But even better would be to just go somewhere where you ask them, okay, I like this place, and then you try out. I wouldn't commit 10 years to something without having actually lived there for a while to see what it's like, which is why for a lot of traditions you do a novice monk where you stay for a short period of time, and then you, especially if you're an adult, and then you can see if you're fit, because it might be that that's a great place, but it doesn't fit you. I mean, I know your personality, and I can see a few places where you would really like it. And I can also see some other places where, like, yeah, that would not be for Jack because they're not doing, well, you might like it still, but that's probably not what you're after. So you need to look at centers that suit you, if that makes sense. And also, there's no need to go 10 years. Like I said, 10 years is a long time. I was away for 8 years, 6 years of those years I was a Buddhist monk. That's a long time. I mean, it went very quickly, but yeah, it's a long time. Think about it before you do that. Let's see, Catherine, please continue. We appreciate you. Oh, thank you, Catherine. I like that. Catherine, continue to do live sessions and make videos is what I meant. I know it's going late there, and we appreciate you doing this after a long day. Thank you. It's like I said, I do the thing that I enjoy the most, and I enjoy this the most. I also really like making videos. It's just there's simply not the time. But I always enjoy coming here, and it's nice for me because sometimes I come in and I feel a little bit like, okay, I'm tired, but I always feel energized and happy afterwards. Or sometimes I'm feeling a bit down, and then it's nice to feel like we just have a nice group going here, kind of. Jack, thanks anyways. It's always good to get a second opinion. Nice. Well, it's getting late. Thank you, everyone. As always, wonderful to sit with you, and I hope this was, like I said, this was a little bit different. I went into a bit more detail about some things, more than just we focus on breathing, and I bring some of the things I do in the coaching sessions into these evening sessions, because I think that's one of the things I want to get better at, is to see how can I explain things better, how can I help people find more joy through doing these things, and then I need to get better at explaining what to do. So thank you. You're helping me by helping yourself. Thanks, everyone. Yes, I'll see you all on Thursday. Have a great week.